I wish I'd seen her more and given her more hugs at the time, but who knew that this was going to happen?
On January 13th, 2022, the city of Los Angeles was shaken by a horrific act of violence that claimed the life of 24-year-old Brianna Kupfer. This tragic incident left a family in shambles. Then it shocked the community. And when that was said and done, this case brought to the forefront critical issues regarding public safety, mental health, homelessness, and the pervasive culture of misogyny that continues to endanger women's lives.
Victim is laying on the floor next to a couch in the furniture store.
She sent a text to a friend letting her know that there was someone inside the location that was giving her a bad vibe.
This story gets darker with every sentence. What happened to Brianna was brutal and senseless. And the worst part is that if this happened to her, it could happen to anyone. So make yourself a cup of coffee and watch on. This is the outrageous story of Brianna Kupfer. Brianna Kupfer was a smart and passionate UCLA grad student, but she was also a person loved by many. Her family would write on her foundation page, "Just 24 years old, Brianna was already one of the most courageous, kind, and loving people you would ever meet. She was always trying to avoid the spotlight, yet it always seemed to find her simply because she radiated such goodness and love." Brianna made an impact on everyone she interacted with. They were met with beauty and grace that was unmatched. Brianna was all good. This is not something you can say about many people on this earth, and it made her into the pure person that she was. Brianna's caring, compassionate nature led her to champion causes that promoted the betterment of people, society, and the environment alike. She cared about people and the planet equally. She was a member of her neighborhood sustainability group, Resident Palisades, and was always seeking ways to spread awareness to her friends about how to live more sustainably. Brianna was inquisitive and always looking to better herself and learn whenever and however she could. She was always creating lists of things she wanted to learn, places she wanted to see, books she wanted to read, and taking notes on historical events she wanted to learn more about. Brianna was born and raised in Los Angeles, a city she loved and called home. From a very young age, she was an avid reader, often staying up late into the night to finish a book while others slept. Her love for reading was so profound that she was always seen with a book or two in tow, ready to offer recommendations to anyone who asked. This passion for learning and literature shaped her into an incredibly observant and understanding person, traits that made her an exceptional friend, daughter, and sister. Those who knew Brianna described her as intelligent, kind, and driven. Her father, Todd Kupfer, spoke lovingly of his daughter in an interview with Inside Edition.
The champion of what we need out of our children. She was caring and loving, and she wasn't glued to her phone. She liked to read books. She liked to try to learn new things every single day.
But Brianna was far more than just a bookworm. Beneath her kind and seemingly reserved demeanor was an adventurous and daring spirit. She approached life with fearlessness and ferocity, always encouraging those around her to be more courageous. Brianna firmly believed that life was more enjoyable when lived without hesitation. Her love for travel was evident in the maps that she would draw and the notes she kept of places she visited and yet to be explored. Brianna had a knack for making life more interesting, whether it was a simple drive with the windows down and music blasting, convincing her height-fearing sister to go skydiving in Australia, or car camping in national parks, or spending a night in a tiny home in the Costa Rican wilderness. Whatever she did, Brianna approached it with a contagious smile and a free spirit that made everyone around her feel safe and excited. Brianna led a fairly active lifestyle, excelling in yoga, running, boxing, and dance. Her physical prowess was often a source of awe for those around her, as she effortlessly scaled rock formations, performed handstands, or executed high kicks in boxing class. Despite her many talents, Brianna remained modest in all aspects of her life.
I wish I'd seen her more and given her more hugs at the time, but who knew that this was going to happen?
It was through her creativity that Brianna truly shone. She had a remarkable ability to design and create clothing from scratch or upcycle old pieces into unique, trendy outfits. Her designs were intricate and detailed, showcasing her innate talent and imagination. Brianna dreamed of creating her own clothing line someday and was constantly sketching new ideas and creating outfits that others might be too afraid to wear. In the last few months of her life, she was often seen sporting her favorite knee-high white cowboy boots, a testament to her bold and unique style. At the time of her death, Brianna was pursuing a master's degree in architectural design at UCLA, demonstrating her passion for creating and shaping spaces. She worked at Croft House, a sustainable interior design store, while pursuing her studies, balancing her academic aspirations with real-world experience in design and customer service. Her colleagues remember her as hardworking and always ready with a smile for customers. Above all, Brianna was known for her deep capacity for love and care. She consistently put others before herself, embodying the very essence of the goodness in the world. Her ability to love deeply and strongly made her a true role model for compassion and kindness.
Brianna was a smart, funny, driven, and kind soul who only wanted to better herself and her community on a daily basis.
The night before her murder, Brianna had visited her family home to borrow a suitcase for an upcoming trip to New York. This mundane act of preparation for the future adventure serves as a poignant reminder of the life she still had ahead of her. A life full of potential, creativity, and love cut tragically short. Brianna Kupfer was, in every sense, a bright light in this world. Her loss was not just a personal tragedy for her family and friends, but a loss to society of a young woman who had so much to offer. As we examine the circumstances of her death and the broader issue it raises, we must remember the unique person full of love at the heart of this tragedy. Brianna was working alone at Croft House, an upscale furniture store in the Hancock Park neighborhood of Los Angeles. It was a Thursday afternoon, a time when many would assume to be safe from violent crime. However, at approximately 1:36 p.m., Brianna's life would be brutally cut short in a random act of violence that has since haunted the city. According to police reports, Brianna had sent a text message to a friend shortly before the attack, expressing concern about a person in the store who was giving her a bad vibe.
She sent a text to a friend letting her know that there was someone inside the location that was giving her a bad vibe.
Tragically, the friend did not see the message immediately. By 1:50 p.m., a customer entering the store discovered Brianna's lifeless body on the floor, covered in blood. Shocked, they phoned 911, and the dispatcher shared this chilling detail with the authorities.
Victim is laying on the floor next to a couch in the furniture store.
The Los Angeles County Coroner's Office later revealed the horrifying extent of the violence Brianna endured. The autopsy report showed that she had been stabbed 26 times with wounds to her abdomen, arms, legs, and chest. The cause of death was listed as exsanguination, meaning she bled to death from her injuries. Todd said, "It's torn us apart. We really don't know what to do and what steps to take. We just want her life to have more meaning." Brianna's parents, brothers, and sister could hardly go on with their day-to-day activities. Nothing made sense anymore. But this level of brutality shocked even seasoned law enforcement officials. It underscored the senseless nature of the attack.
One by one, young women laid flowers and signs as they walked past a growing memorial for 24-year-old Brianna Kupfer. Lots of hugs, lots of tears, lots of disbelief that their friend was really gone.
The night before her murder, Brianna had visited her family home to borrow a suitcase for an upcoming trip to New York. This mundane act of preparation for future adventures serves as a poignant reminder of the life she had ahead of her, a life full of potential, cut tragically short. In the wake of Brianna's murder, the Los Angeles PD launched an intensive investigation.
The Los Angeles community needs to come together and come together for the right reason. Of course, it's not just the money, but we need to hold this person accountable for what they did.
Speaking of money, $250,000 was offered to anyone who could point the LAPD in the direction of this man. $50,000 from the LAPD and another $20,000 raised by donations coming from all over LA. Surveillance footage from this store and surrounding areas became crucial in identifying the suspect. The police released images of a man seen calmly walking away from the scene, wearing a distinctive backpack and painter-style face mask. The suspect was described as an African-American male, approximately 6 feet to 6 feet 5 inches tall, with a thin build and short dreadlocks. His calm demeanor after committing such a violent act chilled investigators and the public alike.
These are very distinctive attributes. And I'm convinced that in a community that began its outpouring to me and the members of my senior staff and the Wilshire station about their care and their concern for this senseless tragedy, I'm looking to that community today to help us solve this crime.
As the investigation progressed, it became clear that the attack was random. Nothing was stolen from the store, and there were no prior connection between Brianna and her attacker. This randomness added to the sense of fear and vulnerability felt by many in the community. If Brianna faced this fate, anyone else could. No one felt safe anymore.
We will find this vicious criminal.
The breakthrough in the case came when a man fitting the suspect's description was spotted at a bus stop in Pasadena, about 17 miles from the crime scene. On January 19, 2022, just 6 days after the murder, 31-year-old Sean Laval Smith was arrested and charged with Brianna's murder. Smith's arrest brought a measure of relief to the community, but it also raised questions about the systems that had failed to prevent this tragedy. It was revealed that Smith had a history of arrests and mental health issues, having been released on a $1,000 bail just days before the attack on Brianna. This information sparked debates about bail reform and the handling of individuals with mental health problems in the criminal justice system.
When it comes to criminality, I don't know why we think leniency is the answer when they are just out there ready to do other malicious and terrible things to good people.
To understand the environment in which this tragedy occurred, we have to look at the broader context of the crime and public safety in Los Angeles. The city has long grappled with the issues of crime, homelessness, and mental health, all of which intersect in complex ways.
We can't live in a world where a young, sweet lady can be working in a store and somebody walk in and just randomly murder her.
According to the Los Angeles Police Department's end-of-year crime statistics for 2023, the city saw a slight decrease in overall crime compared to the previous year. However, certain categories of violent crime remained a significant concern. The report highlighted a 2.4% decrease in homicides and a 3.5% reduction in shots fired, indicating some progress in addressing gun violence. Despite these improvements, other areas saw increases. Robbery was up 2.6%, and motor vehicle theft saw a substantial rise of 11.8%. These statistics paint a picture of a city still struggling with various forms of crime, even as it makes progress in others. The issue of homelessness in Los Angeles cannot be overlooked when discussing public safety. As of 2023, it was estimated that over 46,000 people were experiencing homelessness in the city. This crisis not only poses humanitarian concerns, but also impacts public safety perceptions and realities. The intersection of homelessness, mental health, and crime is complex. While it's crucial to avoid stigmatizing all individuals experiencing homelessness, the reality is that untreated mental illness and substance abuse among the homeless population can contribute to public safety concerns. The case of Brianna Kupfer's killer, who was believed to be homeless at the time of the attack, highlights this tragic intersection.
The question just screams why and how are we here and why is this happening? And I don't know that there will ever be a sufficient answer to that question.
Los Angeles has implemented various initiatives to address these interconnected issues. The city has increased funding for homelessness services, mental health programs, and community-based crime prevention efforts. However, the efforts of these programs remains a topic of debate, with many arguing that more comprehensive and systemic changes are needed.
I grew up with her since I was like 9 months old until 8th grade, and she was one of my best friends in middle school, and yeah, it's just really sad.
The murder of Brianna Kupfer is not just a story of random violence. It's a stark reminder of the specific dangers women face in public spaces. This tragedy brings into focus the broader issue of gender-based violence and the pervasive culture of misogyny that underlies it.
Beyond unsettling. I can only hope that this is not a trend that we're going to see continuing.
Research consistently shows that women experience a disproportionate level of fear and anxiety about their safety in public spaces. A study by Farah and Farah on the sex's sense of safety reveals striking disparities in how men and women both perceive and experience safety. 54% of women feel unsafe walking alone at night, compared to only 28% of men. 34% of women avoid going out alone due to safety concerns, while only 16% of men report the same. 55% of women have experienced street harassment versus 31% of men. These statistics highlight a reality where women's freedom of movement and sense of security are significantly compromised compared to their male counterparts. The fear of violence, whether it's SA, harassment, or other forms of aggression, shapes women's daily decisions and behaviors in ways that men don't often have to consider. The randomness of the attack on Brianna Kupfer further exasperates this sense of vulnerability. She was not engaged in any high-risk behavior. She was simply working at her job in broad daylight. This fact underscores the unpredictable nature of violence against women and the constant state of vigilance many women feel compelled to maintain. Moreover, the incident highlights the inadequacy of common safety advice given to women. Brianna did everything right. She was in a public place, during daylight hours, and even alerted a friend when she felt uncomfortable. Yet these precautions were not enough to protect her. This painful reality forces us to confront the limitations of placing the burden of safety solely on potential victims, and instead looking at the broader societal issues at play. The attack on Brianna Kupfer, while seemingly random, occurred within a broader context of the misogynistic culture that normalizes violence against women. This culture manifests in various ways, from subtle microaggressions to overt acts of violence, creating an environment where women's safety and autonomy are constantly under threat. Misogyny at its core is a hatred or contempt for women. However, its expression in society is often more nuanced and pervasive than outright hatred. It manifests in various subtle and overt ways throughout our culture. We see it in the objectification of women in the media and advertising, reducing them to mere visual objects for consumption. It's evident in the persistent wage gap and the underrepresentation of women in leadership roles, suggesting that women's work and potential are valued less than men's. Misogyny also appears in the frequent minimization or outright disbelief of women's experiences of harassment and assault, invalidating their trauma and discouraging reporting. The use of gendered insults and language that demeans women further reinforces misogynistic attitudes in everyday discourse. Perhaps most insidiously, it's persistent in the societal expectations that place disproportionate burdens on women for their own safety, implying that the responsibility for preventing violence against women lies with the potential victim, rather than addressing the root cause of such violence. These cultural attitudes create a foundation that can escalate to more severe forms of violence. When women are not seen as fully human or as equal members of society, it becomes easier to justify or overlook violence against them.
This has to stop. This has got to stop. This has become the Wild West here. Somebody has got to stop the crime. There's no reason for this to happen.
In the case of Brianna Kupfer, while we cannot know the exact motivations of her killer, we can recognize that the act occurred within this broader cultural context. The randomness of the attack speaks to a society where women's bodies are seen as available for violence, where their right to exist safely in a public space is not guaranteed. The murder of Brianna Kupfer sent shockwaves through the Los Angeles community and beyond. The randomness and brutality of the attack left many feeling vulnerable and afraid, particularly women and those working in similar retail environments. In the days following the murder, there was an outpour of grief and support for Brianna's family. Flowers and memorial tributes appeared outside Croft House where she had once worked. The community's response also took the form of activism, with many calling for increased safety measures and addressing the underlying issues that contributed to this tragedy.
This vigil for Brianna almost got co-opted by politics.
The incident sparked debates about public safety policies in Los Angeles. Some called for increased police presence in commercial areas, while others argued for more comprehensive approaches to addressing homelessness and mental health issues. The case became a flashpoint in ongoing discussions about criminal justice reform, bail policies, and the handling of individuals with mental health concerns.
Yeah, we miss her.
Only she can't be there.
So it's a day to kind of just celebrate and enjoy each other's company and really think about her throughout the day.
On what would have been Brianna's 25th birthday, her dad organized a run in her memory. All of her friends and loved ones gathered to say a kind word for her and ran in silence as they thought about this tragic story. The case of Brianna Kupfer serves as a call to action for our society. It compels us to examine the systems and cultural attitudes that allow such violence to occur and work toward meaningful change. There are several key areas where action is desperately needed. Addressing misogyny and gender-based violence is paramount. We must implement comprehensive education programs in schools that focus on gender equality, consent, and healthy relationships. We also need to challenge media representations that objectify women or normalize violence against them. This involves not only critiquing such portrayals, but also supporting and creating media that presents women as full, complex human beings. Enhanced lighting and security in public spaces, especially commercial areas, can deter crime and increase perceived safety. We must also develop better systems to identify and intervene with potential threats to public safety, possibly through improved mental health screening and intervention programs. Addressing homelessness and mental health is crucial for public safety. Increased funding for mental health services, including outpatient and inpatient care for vulnerable populations, is essential. Housing First policies can provide stability for chronically homeless individuals, allowing them to address other life issues. Criminal justice reform is urgent. We should review bail policies to ensure public safety while protecting the accused rights, possibly moving away from cash bail systems. Implementing better mental health assessments and support within the criminal justice system is vital. Increased support for rehabilitation and reintegration programs can reduce recidivism. Empowering bystanders creates safer communities. Bystander intervention training can equip people to recognize warning signs and safely intervene or seek help in dangerous situations. We should foster a culture of community vigilance and shared responsibility for safety. Supporting victims and survivors is paramount. We must enhance support services for victims and their families, including immediate crisis services and long-term recovery support. Implementing trauma-informed practices in law enforcement and judicial processes can prevent re-traumatization. Advocating for policies that protect victims' rights, such as expanded compensation programs and anti-discrimination laws, is crucial for facilitating recovery. And Todd Kupfer had one last thing to say. We should never glorify stories like Brianna's. Replace morbid curiosity with a call to action. Todd hated how Brianna's gruesome autopsy was released to the public and how people seem to share that more than any other discussion around the case. You have people who don't really care about humanity, and for whatever selfish gain or for whatever reason, they act without authority and without a conscience. Everybody knows she was brutally murdered. I don't know why people would need to know more than that. It's glorifying a horrible tragedy for entertainment. As we reflect on the tragic loss of Brianna Kupfer, we are reminded of the preciousness of life and the urgent need for change in our society. Brianna was a young woman, full of promise, whose life was cut short by a senseless act of violence. Her death is not just a statistic, but a profound loss that ripples through her family, friends, and community. In honoring Brianna's memory, we must commit ourselves to creating a world where such tragedies are less likely to occur. This means challenging the cultural attitudes that normalize violence against women, addressing the complex issues of homelessness and mental health, and working tirelessly to create safer communities for all. Brianna Kupfer's life mattered. Her dreams, her aspirations, her love for her family and friends, all of these were cut short in an act of senseless violence. Let her death not be in vain. We can work towards a future where every person, regardless of gender, can feel safe and valued in their community. Let us honor Brianna's memory by being the change we wish to see in the world. Let us build a society where kindness, respect, and safety are not aspirations, but realities. In doing so, we can create a lasting legacy that truly honors the bright light that was Brianna Kupfer. Thanks for watching, you guys. Let me know your thoughts in a comment down below, but make it a kind one. Brianna's family needs thoughts and prayers right now. And before you go, make sure you like, subscribe, and hit that bell button. See you soon. Stay safe.